you got to realize that whatever you're doing, you're competing with somebody. What is it that gives you an advantage over your competition? Whatever you're good at, try to be great at it. And if you're great at it, good things will happen.
Maverick. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with us. This is the Maverick Podcast. I'm your host, DJ Maverick. Today, we're rolling out the red carpet once again. We have the president and CEO of the Latino Community Development Agency, the one and only Salvador Ontiveros. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much, DJ Maverick. Appreciate the invite.
Before we get started, for the 1% of the people out there that don't know who you are, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure, 1%. I don't know. So my name is Salvador Ontiveros. I grew up south side Oklahoma City, southwest 33rd and Walker.
Okay.
And, I growing up in a migrant household, I think hard work is what's driven my whole demeanor, my whole life.
For sure.
My parents were from Torreon, Coahuila. So I was actually born in Torreon, Coahuila, back in the 80s, 84. And my parents moved to Oklahoma really just to visit my grandmother. My grandmother and my uncle, they came here to work. And so they came to visit her. And, my parents really decided to stay. They enjoyed the vibe here. They enjoyed it. They saw the potential, the opportunity. Mm-hmm. And so they decided to stay. So I grew up 33rd and Walker, like I said, and throughout my whole life, I saw my parents, work really hard to get whatever they could out of this life, and really pursue that, I guess, American dream, as they call it, right? My dad had a small cabinet business. He was a carpenter, and my mother worked in Oklahoma City Public Schools.
Okay.
What I would do during the summers and during the Christmas breaks and fall breaks and all these breaks is I worked. I stayed. Yeah. I spent a lot of time in my dad's shop.
Same.
And at the time, I guess I was a little like not very keen on hanging out with him because it was a lot of hard work. Now that I'm older, I can really appreciate the value of hard work and that education, because it really was. I mean, it's good to know how to fix my own door, how to fix my own, things in the house. And so very appreciative of them. And I saw firsthand how hard they worked to get to where they were at.
Yeah.
I remember my dad telling me growing up how we would work all day and he would say, "Hey, Mijo, how do you feel?" "I feel terrible. This sucks." And he's like, "Well,
that's the point, right?
That's the point, right? You will always have a job here with me."
Okay.
He said, "But if you don't want to do this, you're going to have to get an education."
Yeah.
But Mijo, I don't have any money. So you're going to have to go get one of those scholarships that people get, like they were leaves off of scholarship trees.
Right.
Like
everybody just go
grab one, right? And so, That's one thing that I remember very early on in my life is how my parents just, they showed me what life could be.
Yeah.
And they showed me what is possible through hard work. And then they also pushed me, like, if you want something more, you're going to have to, figure this out.
That's a super valuable lesson, especially learning it, early on. I remember I kind of did the same thing. My dad was into landscaping and, summertime, wintertime, any break, it was like, "Hey, come work." And I learned pretty quickly, hey, I don't really want to do this for the rest of my life. Right. I better go to school. I better pay attention, right? So do you think that that's an advantage, is like seeing that hard work and just like having really no vacation? I remember going back to school. Some of my friends are like, "Hey, what'd you do during Christmas?" "Hey, I went, did this or whatever." It's like, I worked,
No, absolutely. If anything, it showed me how to start a job, how to finish a job. It helped me understand what follow through is. It gave me really this appreciation, right, for the things that I do have, and how work can get you what you ultimately want, right? Mm-hmm. And that's really what I got, from my childhood. After middle school, I bounced around a little bit in middle school or elementary school because my mother was a teacher or a bilingual assistant.
Okay.
My mother, my home school was Capitol Hill High School. I lived right down the street from there. And my mother said, no, you know what? We're going to get you a violin. I need you to learn how to play this, for a different opportunity. So she got me a couple of lessons, and we applied for a class in SAS,
Oh, that's cool.
School of Advanced Studies.
That's like almost a 180, right? Like your Capitol Hill experience would have been way different than class in SAS,
Yeah.
right?
So, I mean, I think that was pivotal in my kind of upbringing, in that, growing up in the South Side, I remember coming home, backpack full of books and homework and all these different, activities.
Yeah.
And then I would, hang out with my buddies in the neighborhood that did go to the local schools, and they didn't have the same opportunities that they did. So I realized really, really early how my mother did do something for me, and that she allowed me or provided me an opportunity to succeed.
That's awesome. We were talking off camera of like, one decision, our lives could have been completely different, right? Just, where we grew up, and like a lot of the people that I went to school with, some have even passed away. A lot of them are in jail. Like they took completely different paths, right? Tell me about that. How did you avoid all that, right?
So again, my dad kept me busy. He was one of those people that didn't allow me to hang out at home and hang out with friends. And again, at the time, I was resentful of that.
Yeah.
But now, now that I have 3 kids of my own, I knew what he was doing. He was keeping us busy and making sure that we were, learning something different than, staying out in the streets all hours of the nights. It makes me sad to know, how some of these friends that I grew up with didn't have the same opportunities,
right,
or the parents didn't have the same outlook that mine did. And, they're not either like you said, not with us, in jail, or, even worse. So, I'm very blessed to have that upbringing, and, I'm very blessed that my parents were, took such a, what do you call it? Interest in my future. So,
yeah, that's really cool. So you got to class in SAS. Was it like a culture shock? Because I'm sure like you get some of the brightest from all over the city going to school, right?
Yeah, no, it really was. And a lot of times I felt out of place, being, the lonely Latino in some of the classes where it was very difficult in some areas. Again, I'm very appreciative of the opportunities, but when it comes to a cultural shock, oh my gosh, it was. And so during the day, I would hang out with mostly Anglo. In the evenings, when I played football, I played for Harding Middle School and Northeast Academy.
Really? So while you were at class in SAS, you were playing football for other schools?
Yeah. Us nerds, we didn't have any.
They didn't have football.
We didn't have football. We had soccer and other sports, but we didn't have football. So we combined our schools, I guess, athletics.
Okay.
So we were able to play football at Northeast. And so during the day, I would hang out with Anglos mostly. In the afternoons, I would play football with a lot of African Americans, lots of buddies. Shout out to Northeast Vikings. And then in the weekends, I would hang out with my buddies from the neighborhood. Quinceañeras and all these types of things. And so I had a very diverse kind of circle of friends, if you say.
My understanding is you did go and get one of those scholarships off the tree, right? You got a pretty good scholarship, right? It's kind of like a pivotal moment for you, right?
So growing up, I participated in a lot. So again, back to the story. My dad said, you go get a scholarship.
Yeah, just go get it.
Well, I started doing some research. You find, mentors in the community, in your schools. And one thing that I kept coming up is like, well, grades are a huge, component to getting these scholarships. But really, they want somebody, a well-rounded individual, well-rounded applicant, right? Okay. And so what that would entail is, getting out there in the community and provide, showing that you have leadership skills. Yeah. And so very early on, that kind of got in my head. And so I started volunteering in various organizations, various, causes. So an LCDA, Latino Community Development Agency, was one of those organizations that I fully committed, and I participated in as many programs as I could.
So we're like almost full circle, right? So you had that connection early on with that work, right? That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I participated in programs at LCDA. I like I said, I volunteered my time with them. Because of the Latino Community Development Agency's connections, they introduced me to a college recruiter at Oklahoma City University, who ultimately gave me a full ride scholarship called the Claire Looper Scholarship.
That's awesome.
At Oklahoma City University. It included books, it included room and board, tuition, the works. I mean, Luis, it was something that I could not, I couldn't wrap my head around this. Like, does this does this really happen to people like me? Does this really happen to someone like me? And it was, I'll be honest with you, it felt like it was a scam. When I got the letter, I was like, what are you talking about? Is this real? Like, this is not happening. And it wasn't until maybe the first week of, orientation that it started to really, make it reality. Like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this is happening.
Yeah. Did you know, like going in, what you wanted to focus on, what degree? Yeah.
Sure. So being a kid of a small business owner, I think that business was always something that, it always interested me. Yeah. Right. And it probably happened when I was 15 years old. My dad had his business, and he went and bought a computer, right, from the secondhand store, and said, "Here we go, work on this computer." Like, to do what? And he handed me a QuickBooks CD and said,
it's like, do my accounting?
Do accounting on this computer.
Yeah,
I'm like,
that's awesome.
What?
Yeah.
And so I would, being always pretty savvy with computers, I loaded up. I didn't know anything about accounting, but I kind of got in there, read some tutorials, and I was able to start balancing kind of the checkbook and figuring out some stuff for my dad.
You started doing like inventory and everything.
It don't matter. It doesn't mean that my dad listened, but I was able to kind of get in there. And I remember this particular situation where I would balance the checkbook, and then I would tell my dad, it says here that, man, you're negative $2,000. Nah, mijo, I got like $10,000 in the bank. And I'm like,
don't worry about it.
Yeah, don't worry about it. And I was like, but Dad, you wrote $12,000 worth of checks.
Yeah.
And he was like, it takes 5 days for those checks to clear. So come on, let's go to dinner. Nice. And I was like, come on, man. And so that was kind of my introduction to the business world, right? And for me, when I got ready to go to college, I was like, I want to do business, because I feel like that is the reason small businesses fail, is the lack of administration of their business, right? My dad was an artist. He can probably build this table for you, and it high quality. He would build china cabinets, beautiful china cabinets, and he was an artist, right?
And that's what I find with the artists, is they want to focus on the art, but the actual running of the business and all that, that's not the fun part. Nobody wants to do that.
His office was a disaster, all due respect. And I love my dad, but man, it was a disaster. And so that really interested me from the very beginning. Mm-hmm. Now, it wasn't until I went through a lot of these, volunteer opportunities that I started to develop this love for serving the community, right? Like, it made me feel good, cleaning up 25th Street. It made me feel good, helping elementary schools with reading, right? With the students in elementary schools reading. It made me feel good doing these positive things for my community, the people that, I grew up with. And it wasn't until the internship at the Latino Community Development Agency, again, LCDA.
So you had an internship.
I had an internship in high school where I participated and helped kind of the staff, with paperwork and just going to meetings. And what I was able to do was see firsthand how much these people love what they do. Yeah. Right. How they help their community. Right. Mm-hmm. And then I found out, DJ Maverick, that they actually got paid to do these things. That's cool. I mean, when you're talking about nonprofit volunteer, like you don't really. You assume that they're money. Yeah, they're not getting paid. No, these people actually get paid. They're not going to be millionaires, right? But definitely, it's a profession that you can make a living off of. That's when I was like, okay, that's what I want to do. I want to serve my community. I want to serve my people, in whatever capacity I can.
What was your major? Did you just do like economics, accounting, or did you just do management? What did you do?
So I did my bachelor's in business administration with an emphasis in marketing, believe it or not. And then I went back in and got my master's degree, my MBA, in with an emphasis in finance.
Very cool. So I always like to stalk my guests in a good way, of course, sure. Before they come onto the pod. And my research says that you kind of had your own sort of entrepreneur little endeavor yourself, right? So tell me a little bit about that. How did that come about?
Sure. So, what I knew about business is, if I wanted to be good at it, I needed to learn sales. Yeah. Right? I needed to learn how to sell an idea and get people excited about what I was doing. So in high school, I got a job at Radio Shack. Okay. Dating myself a little bit here, but Radio Shack, and I sold electronics and transistors and batteries, but I was really good at selling cell phones. Cell phones was my thing. And so I learned how to sell an idea, sell a product, right? Yeah. Then I worked at a bank, right? And the bank world for me was an opportunity to learn the insides and outs of finance, like things that I was learning at school. Like how do I apply those concepts, right? And so I had a good time, learning that. After that, I was able to work at my first nonprofit job as an assistant finance manager, and that really opened up my world in terms of business. You can learn all you want about business, but if you don't know how to manage or administratively a business, the accounting, the finance, the details, the devil's in the detail, they say, right?
Right.
Once you manage that, then you can be effective.
Yeah,
right?
the percentage of startups that fail within 1 to 2 years, it's crazy,
That's
right?
right.
Yeah.
So I worked in this nonprofit, and I really enjoyed it, but I had an itch. I had an itch. I had this MBA that I wanted to put into works, and everybody has this fantasy of building this Fortune 500 company.
It's cool.
I mean, it's a cool.
I enjoy
idea.
the process. That's kind of what I'm doing here. I'm always like building something.
That's right.
Yeah.
And so I went ahead and got some money together, visited with some friends really about this idea of aguas frescas, a business about this aguas frescas idea.
Yeah.
In my experience, aguas frescas is one of those things that is in the back, right? Like they don't advertise, hey, we have the best aguas frescas. What you do is you go to a Mexican restaurant, you say, hey, I want this for food and give me an agua.
You almost have to look for it, look in the back, like, hey, do you guys have horchata or whatever? You have to ask, really. Yeah.
So I recognized that there was a gap in the market, right? An opportunity here. And so what I did is I designed kind of a marketing plan, a logo, and I started in my kitchen working on different, my personal recipes.
Up to this point, you had no experience making any kind of no.
I would buy them, but I would never make them. And so in my house, while my kids were watching TV, I would make my horchata waters. I would make agua de piña, and then I would start to make my own combinations. My favorite was my piña, agua de piña, and fresa. So strawberry.
Oh, so you're like
pineapple.
mixing stuff.
Mixing them.
Man, you're like innovating.
Yeah. And
cool.
so I put this business plan together. Again, I had this degree that I wanted to put to use, and I started to share it with my friends. Like, what do you guys think about this? A couple of them were like, how much can I invest? I was like,
that's cool.
Are you serious? Yeah. And I mean, that's when I knew I had something. And so I had an opportunity at Plaza Mayor, which used to be Crossroads.
Yeah.
Where there was a space there that they were, practically giving to me, right? And I said, I can't not take advantage of this opportunity,
right?
At least to see what happens, right?
Yeah.
And so we got some money together. We had we opened Chava's Fruit Waters y Tacos because eventually I found out we had a event hood.
Okay.
And so we
opportunity.
Right? I mean, the aguas frescas always came first.
Sure.
But the tacos kind of like made the deal. Like people were like, let me get agua de piña and hook me up with some tacos, right? And so I hired my brother-in-law and my wife. Really, that's when I really knew my wife loved me because she would be the one to push us in the morning to wake up and get the aguas ready and get the place ready to open, right? When it's time to open. And so we had a great time. DJ Maverick, I didn't make any money.
Yeah.
But man, we had a great time.
But all the lessons that you learned and also scratching that itch, right?
That's right.
Because I think to me, listening to the story, it almost reminds me of the hot Cheetos.
Yeah.
The guy like creating his own recipe at home and then, hey, I'm going to go test this, right? So, and were you able to expose the aguas frescas concept to like other cultures and stuff like that, right? Because maybe they've never tried it and now it's like, hey, what is this water all of a sudden, right?
I would consider myself an early adopter on social media, and I had a website, and I would utilize this.
So you were serious from the gate.
Yeah, and I got to tell you, my social media page got a lot of attention, and I would have clients or customers that would come up from Tulsa, from Lawton, just to have my agua de melon and my 3 taco special.
Nice.
I mean, every Saturday morning they would be there, and I'm very appreciative of those people. and the support that they have for small business. But oh my gosh, we had such a blast. And yes, we were able to really open up the eyes to a lot of different cultures about what aguas frescas are and ultimately these tacos.
So if you had to wrap it up, maybe top 3 lessons that you learned of being an entrepreneur, maybe tell me what are those, of course it's probably a lot more work than what you were expecting. Right?
Oh yeah. So top 3, I would say, you have to show up, hard work is the only way that you're going to make any type of impact. Right. I would say surround yourself with the right people. If it wasn't for, like I said, if it wasn't for my wife, my brother-in-law, these people that supported me, that saw the vision, that really, pushed me even when I didn't want to be pushed. That's important. And take care of your customers. I can't tell you how much I enjoyed walking into Crossroads or Plaza Mayor and, hey, chava, how you doing? ¿Cómo están los tacos hoy?
That's cool.
I mean, having that relationship with your customers really made all the difference for me.
Yeah.
I'm an extrovert, and so I enjoyed that aspect of it, and I think building those relationships with those customers is what really made a big difference.
Very cool. So then he's like, hey, this entrepreneurship didn't really scale. I'm going to go back to corporate world, or what did
So
you do?
I kept my job.
You did. So
Yeah.
throughout the whole thing, you were working both.
Bro,
Okay.
I was waking up at 6, 7 a.m. I was getting my fruit order and getting everything in order. Get my guy, my brother-in-law, to go out there and get everything open. I'll go to work from 8 to 5, right?
Yeah.
And then at 5, I would go home, change, go to Crossroads, and I would take over, and I would work from 6 to, we closed at 9, but clean
up and everything. Yeah.
I would be there till 10. That was my life for about a year.
Jeez.
Yeah,
That's
again,
crazy.
hard work. Don't think it's gonna be walking in and just taking pictures and having fun. I mean, it's a lot of work.
But maybe you were just too early, right? A lot of products, they're like too early to the market, because now you see all over Instagram, you see all these drinks with the tajin and all this. Like, that's what's popping right now.
I'm not gonna lie, right? It kind of stings a little bit when I see another aguas frescas product on the shelf, and I'm like, oh,
you're just early.
That's the wrong name, man. Yeah. So I worked and continued doing those things, and I really, I learned a lot, and I don't regret any of it. It was a lot of fun. After ORO, which ORO Development Corporation was my first nonprofit job that I had, I moved on to Oklahoma Primary Care Association. I had a short stint there. That really I learned a lot from that organization. It really introduced me to the bigger world of nonprofit, right?
Okay.
And then in between there, I started a bookkeeping service. I had me a couple of clients that I would deal with and set up their books and help them kind of grow their business.
So you always kept this entrepreneur spirit going on.
It's in me, man. It's in me. It's hard for me to let it go, right?
Tell me about it.
Right.
Yeah.
And for me, I don't know how else to be. If you want to be successful in life, you have to be you have to show initiative.
Yeah.
You have to be there. You have to do more than what you're getting paid to do. Right.
True.
That's my opinion. Right. I know that it's just you need to work for the job you want, not for the job you have. Right.
Right.
And so I kept that kind of going. And then I finally got, kind of one of my biggest opportunities of my career in that Oklahoma Contemporary Art Center.
Very cool.
There's a new building on 11th and Broadway that I was part of that management group that raised the $30 million. We constructed a state-of-the-art.
It's beautiful. I remember when it was right there, sort of like Automobile Alley. It was really small, and then they scaled it to this great building.
Huge.
Like it's beautiful.
Yeah. If you guys haven't been,
definitely check it out.
Please check it out. I invite you. It's open to the public, free to the public, and it's one of the biggest successes and accomplishments that I've been part of.
Yeah.
So we constructed this beautiful $20 million facility. When I first started, we had 13 employees. When we moved into the building, we had almost 100.
Wow.
We tripled our budget, right? And I really enjoyed that project. I was in charge of my official title was Director of Finance and Human Resources, but I was in charge of accounting, finance. I was in charge of human resources, IT. And
that's an interesting mix to have. Usually you have dedicated CFO, dedicated HR, right? You had it all under your belt.
When we had 13 employees,
that's true. It's a little bit easier.
You kind of have to wear different hats, right, to make it work. It got a little bit more complicated, a little bit more challenging once we moved into the new building, but it was again, I cannot be more grateful to the opportunity, to the people that, gave me the shot of, managing this project. It was a lot of fun. And so I learned a lot, and I really I cherish those memories till this day.
Yeah.
DJ Maverick, I could have retired there, man. I was so comfortable. I really was. My family, I got an opportunity to really share with them the work that we did. They came to art exhibitions. They came to art openings.
It's a cool job. I mean, if you're into arts or music or whatever, like that would be like a dream gig right there.
Whenever I posted on social media, my hashtag was #cool jobs.
Nice.
Because it really was.
Yeah.
But when you get a phone call from your community saying, hey, we see the things that you're doing, would you be interested in elevating this organization, this important organization, to the community?
Yeah.
Would you be interested in elevating it to the next level? You can't turn that
no,
down.
Yeah.
You can't turn that down.
Especially you having the connection throughout your whole life and all those pivotal moments along the way, right?
Yes. I immediately said yes. I mean, what can I do? I had to go through the interview process. Don't get me wrong. They didn't just give me the job, but after the interview process, I got the phone call, and it was really a very at first very touching, very like, oh my gosh, this is unbelievable.
Like a surreal moment.
A surreal
right?
moment.
Like, you probably went there at times to like, maybe take advantage of the resources or whatever.
Right. That's right.
And then all of a sudden you're like on the other side.
I'm on the other side where now it's on me and my shoulders. And, it really has, it really was a very impactful moment in my career. And that happened just a few months ago.
That's
right?
crazy. Yeah.
Once I started, I started to, work with staff, and I got to tell you, shout out to the LCDA staff. They're amazing. Every time I speak with them, their passion just jumps out of them.
Yeah.
They're not doing it for the money, right? They're doing it because they know that they're serving their community, and they're helping our community members improve their quality of life.
Yeah.
And so it's been a pleasure of mine. It's been an honor of mine so far to help run this organization. And shout out to my board members. Thank you guys so much for the opportunity, and really for trusting me to run this organization. It really has been a complete honor for me. So.
Yeah. So I'm going to put you on the spot. If somebody's not familiar with the LCDA, give me your elevator pitch. What does the LCDA offer, right?
Sure. So our mission is at the LCDA is to improve the quality of life in the Latino community through, and I want to get these in the wrong order, advocacy, education, services, and programs.
Okay.
And what we do is we have essentially 4 pillars, right? We have our treatment programs, which offer treatment programs that offer therapy for drug and alcohol abuse. We have domestic violence programs in groups, child mental health programs, and there's a beautiful program called Celebrating Families that allow families who are struggling within their with a family member that are struggling with drug and alcohol, that we invite the whole family to come in and provide services to them to uplift their themselves and hopefully help them through the difficult situation.
Definitely.
We have health programs that include HIV and STD programs, education, and treatment, and we refer them out if they need higher level of care. We also have diabetes screenings. We manage a few health fairs throughout the year that allow us to serve the community with free health care and screenings.
Yeah.
We have a wonderful shout out to the Mexican consulate. We have a wonderful partnership with the Mexican consulate where we provide these services directly to our Mexican community. Since July, the last number that I saw, we've served over 4,400 people through the Mexican consulate.
That's cool.
We have 2 child care facilities, one in our Southwest 10th location, and then one on our 57th and Western location. We serviced over almost 100 kids in those two locations. And then finally, we have a prevention program, which is special because we actually get the opportunity to go inside of our clients' homes and provide services directly to the families. Services like, how to, parent more effectively. We do developmental delay screenings. Just this year, we have done over 100 developmental delay screenings. We've identified 10 children that required more services, and 8 of them have accepted them.
Okay.
I mean, that's 8 families that, would not have received these services any other way because they didn't know the signs, right?
Yeah.
And real quickly, one story that I love to share about this, and I'm sure a lot of people have heard it already, but, almost 20 years ago, there was a young Peruvian woman who came to LCDA looking for support. She had moved here from Peru to serve as a maid for a family here in Oklahoma City, and when they found out that she was pregnant, they kicked her out of their home.
Oh, wow.
No friends, no family, nowhere to go.
Got no kind of support system.
No kind of support.
Yeah.
Somebody told her, hey, you should go check out LCDA. So she came to LCDA, and immediately staff got to work. They provided shelter. They provided clothing, food, prenatal care for the unborn child. Once the baby was born, they ended up giving her even more services, diapers, formula, and just really prepared the mother to be, a parent.
Yeah.
20 years later, right before I started, that same woman came back to LCDA to say thank you, to just say hello. And DJ Maverick, she's now married, happily married, working, and her 20-year-old son is a college student.
Wow, that's an amazing story. I mean, that in itself speaks volumes.
This year is our Latino Clubs initiative, Latino Leadership Clubs. Growing up, I was part of the Latino clubs, and I knew firsthand the impact that these clubs have. Having people come in and speak to us that look like me, that speak like me, that have the same, I had to overcome the same obstacles that I had to share with me their success story. How did they get to where they're at? Was very impactful for me. And so I remember one of my biggest moments in high school, actually college, or almost, that really changed the trajectory of my kind of my life, was when I was invited by LCDA to go to, back then it was called the National Conference of La Raza, which is now Unidos US. And what it is a conference every year where business professionals, Latino business professionals, nonprofit leaders, et cetera, would come and share the things that they're doing in their own communities to improve the quality of life in the Latino community. And I was just blown away to see a ballroom full of Latinos that were doing big things.
Yeah, a bunch of leaders, right?
Bunch of leaders, suit and tie, and talking about their tias and their tios, and talking about, it's such a, for me, an opportunity to really feel proud of who I was.
Right.
And I mean, if anything, it sparked something within me to come back home and do something similar.
Yeah. That's the other thing we were talking about is growing up, right? Like looking around for role models, right?
Nothing against, my dad and the people that he had working there, but yeah, it was a very different vibe at my dad's shop. And so it was these opportunities of me to get out of those situations and learn what is possible, just get exposed to what is possible out there was significant for me. And you're right, back then it was very difficult to find those role models. You just had to kind of find your way and figure out how to accomplish the goals that you have, right? And it was difficult. But
so if you're going into this new nonprofit, right, I'm sure you have to have like a 30, 60, 90 right off the bat, right? What are some of the problems that you're going to tackle? How are you going to identify opportunities, right? Like what was your strategy going in to this new org? You were like dream job, with the art gallery. Now you're over here. You have to tackle some new problems, right?
Sure. So, it's always something that I've learned in my career is you don't want to come in and just make changes, right? There's reasons why the organization runs this way, and there's reasons why the processes are how they are. So my intention the first few months was to learn the programs, learn the staff, speak to the stakeholders, the community members, the community leaders, understand where LCDA's place is in the community, Where are we lacking, services? Where is it where we have a significant growth potential, right? I also opened up my calendar a lot. I took as many meetings as I could to get myself out there so people knew who we were. And one thing that I realized is that I heard a lot of people say, I've heard of LCDA, but I don't really know what you guys do.
Yeah.
Which, killed me because I knew what it did for me. And so it gave me an opportunity to reintroduce the LCDA to a lot of these people. And so that's really what I've been doing, learning the systems. What is the systems that work? What are the systems that maybe need some improvement? And again, working with staff. It's been such a great opportunity to learn what it is that they do, see the passion that they have for what they do, and really work off of that. How do I help them be successful?
Right. And I imagine an org that's been around for so long has to also adapt, right? So times change, needs change, you have to adapt, provide new services, right? So I'm over here thinking, geeking out with your sort of Radio Shack technical background. Once you have those like basic needs covered, maybe you could do some cool stuff around tech, right? Like let's get some kids involved in programming, get them involved in, science, get them involved in these cool programs. That might be a cool opportunity.
So, yeah. So at ORO, I was able to implement a paperless process. Our process was very paper heavy. Mm-hmm. We would send letters and mail out to various schools and clients, get them to sign it, bring it back. And before working there, I thought the USPS was, magic, right? Like I would put something in this box and it would get to the destination that it's going to in 3 days. That's incredible. No, after working there, I realized how imperfect it was, all due respect. But, and so we needed a new solution, right? And so we implemented a new paperless process that allowed people to review the things that they needed to sign it electronically, and we would get that paperwork instantaneously, right? It helped the processes of that organization go from turnaround being a month and a half to really just a few days or instantly sometimes, right? So that was one thing that I learned about how important systems are in technology solutions. At the Oklahoma Contemporary Arts Center, I knew that it was when I started, it was a little manual, right? Like we were still submitting PTO on paper and these type of things. And so what we ended up doing there is implementing solutions for these problems. Because if we were going to grow to where the goal was, we were not going to be able to take these outdated processes.
It's not scalable.
It's not scalable, right? And so, we implemented almost a hire to retire HR process. We improved our financial system to make sure that people can upload receipts and invoices and they'll do those kind of things. So with that experience, I'm hoping to bring that experience to LCDA and really level up our technology improvements and make sure that we have the infrastructure to scale our operations. Now, in terms of the programs that I want to offer at LCDA, absolutely. There's one program in mind that we're still trying to work a way to figure it out, but is app development.
Yeah.
App development and computer science, that's one of those skills that you don't even need a certification, but a certification is nice. Get a certification, and all you have to do is prove that you can do it, and people will hire you to, develop the idea that they have, right?
And that's the future of work, right?
That's the future of work.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Another thing that we're already doing is every Monday night, starting next week, we are doing STEM programming from 4:30 to 6 at the Latino Community Development Agency. We're working with an wonderful organization, Class Matters, who will help students, hopefully engage them and maybe instill this interest in STEM, right? Science, technology, engineering, math. And what he does with the students is they build robots together. They mess around with circuit boards. They built a guitar one evening.
Very cool.
And so I think that absolutely there's a lot of potential in the youth programs that we can offer here in Oklahoma City, and really just empower our youth to look for other options other than maybe what's just in their community.
Yeah, because I'm in tech myself, and when I look around, there's not a lot of people that look like me in tech, right? So I think it'd be awesome to have more diversity in tech, and then for just to gain the exposure to know, hey, these type of careers are out there.
Right, absolutely. just
That's really
gauge,
cool.
just introduce them to it, expose them to it, right? Because it's up to them ultimately if they want to do it. But man, I got to tell you, once you get exposed to something that really sparks your interest, I mean, there's very little pushing you have to do.
Right.
Right.
That's very cool. So tell me, explain it to me like I'm 5. A nonprofit, how do you go about like, your budget? Do you get grants?
We're selling the idea that this organization is making a difference in the community.
Yeah.
Right. I think that's the sell. Right.
Okay.
When it comes to funding the organization, sure, there is grants that could fund it. LCDA is, very grateful for the partners that they have through the state, through the city. We receive various, funding through various organizations and entities to help fund our, mental health programs, to help fund our parents and teachers programs. And so, those sources of revenue are very important for the success of our organization. One thing that I've been, entrusted to do and expected to do is to improve our fundraising. Right.
Okay.
Fundraising will entail developing those relationships, cultivating these relationships with potential donors and sponsors, corporate sponsors. The idea is to show them what the impact of our organization is on our community and invite them to participate in that.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's that is where we're at right now in developing those relationships. We're starting lunch and learns this year. We're inviting, and you're invited to come out and,
awesome.
and be part of this lunch and learn.
Cool.
Where we can show what the programs that we have are available, how they're serving the community, and ways that they can support our mission. Right.
Yeah.
We also are working on putting together a luncheon committee. Every year we have a big fundraiser on September usually of our luncheon that allows us to honor those that have helped us throughout the year. We recognize a family every year of their success, and it's a big fundraiser of ours. So working together with these movers and shakers in the community to come help us make this a success is a big focus of ours this year.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So your career throughout the years has always been focused on nonprofit the entire time. Is that right? Or
For the most part, yeah.
Yeah.
Like I said, I had a stint in banking. I
Yeah.
had a little bit of time in finance and banking, and then my entrepreneurial kind of endeavors. But for the most part, my heart has always been in nonprofit and serving the community.
Yeah. But as a kid, if I would have asked you, hey, what do you want to do when you grow up?
I want to be a billionaire.
Billionaire,
Yeah,
just
fortune,
just general. Yeah.
400,
Yeah.
business, and that was just because my dad was a business owner, and
Yeah.
I saw the potential in his business and how we can grow it. But it was for me. I fell in love with the civic, with the community service and improving the quality of life of those around me.
Yeah. As far as entrepreneurs, if I were to ask you for your Mount Rushmore, who are some of the entrepreneurs that you look up to?
Ooh, that's a good question. I've always liked the Shark Tank guys. I think
Yeah.
those are really interested to see how they think.
Yeah, I'm
how
a huge
they
Mark
evaluate-
Cuban guy.
Yeah, I appreciate the way that they think through some of these deals. I learn a lot every time I watch that show. So
Yeah.
I gotta say the Shark Tank entrepreneurs, Mark Cubans and Mr. Wonderful and all them. I think as cheesy as it may sound, my dad, my
That's
dad
cool.
was an entrepreneur. I have a lot of family who are all entrepreneurs. I have 2 aunts that live here in Oklahoma that they cut hair and have a small business. I have a cousin who has a business that I'm really proud of and look up to.
Yeah.
A lot of my family members in Mexico, they all have small businesses, including a cabinet shop and
That's cool.
beauty
So you
shop.
come from a family of entrepreneurs.
Yeah, I mean, most of my family are entrepreneurs. I would say that would be my
Yeah.
biggest influence there.
That's cool. I was expecting like a Steve Jobs or something, but you hit it more close to home. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I don't know. Of course, there's a lot of examples out there, but people that I can relate to are probably my family.
Yeah. That's cool. So tell me a little bit about yourself. One of the things I always ask the guest, if I pull up your playlist, who am I going to find on your playlist? So what kind of stuff do you listen to?
Man, I'm a big R&B fan.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
I like the old school, the Aaliyahs and the.
Are you 90s or 2000s? Because I figure that's like where people land, like either 90s or 2000s.
I'll do a little bit of both.
Both?
Like I said, Aaliyah,
Okay.
R. Kelly before the whole thing. And
Yeah.
then, I really enjoyed, the Boys to Men and
Okay.
And but I really back, especially when I was growing up, I was a big Cumbia Kings fan.
Okay.
Elvis Crespo, Fulanito, like all these people, Selena.
Yeah.
I had a good mix in my my iPod. Or
you would love Usher's new festival. He just put out the flyer, the R&B groups that are going to be part of his festival. So you have to check it out.
I will.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's very cool. So besides that, what else are you into outside of work?
Right now I have my wife and my kids really is what I spend a lot of time with. I met my wife again through an LCDA program growing up, and so she and I got together right after high school, and we've been together 20 years, married 15, and she's probably my best friend, the one I want to hang out with the most. We kind of, back in the day, we used to go out and have dinner and movies and maybe go out to clubs. Nowadays, we enjoy going to fundraisers. We enjoy going to these, benefits, and it's an opportunity for us to hang out together without the kids. And it's important because date nights are important, particularly with our busy schedules. We have to buy tickets to these things. Sometimes they get a little expensive, and so you put it in the calendar months in advance. You can't cancel. Yeah, you got to go. These aren't transferable, these tickets, and so it's an opportunity for us to have a good time. So I enjoy spending time with her. My kids, I have a 16-year-old, about to be 17-year-old. I have a 14-year-old. The reason I do this because he's like 6'3".
He's tall.
Yeah, he's tall. I have a 14-year-old and a 12-year-old. They're all very busy soccer players, competitive soccer. Okay. Two of them are in the band at school, and really they keep me busy. They keep me busy, and they really they push me to be a better man and a better person overall because they see everything. Yeah, for sure. Boy, they're not shy about calling me out, man. And so them, I like working on my computer. I have a lot of side projects that I got going on there. For a little bit, I was working on a book. Okay. Before I started this job, it was something that I was wanting to get off the ground. Something about developing systems and helping small business owners implement systems within their businesses. Yeah. I don't know when that's going to be finished. It's one of those projects that's just ongoing forever. So yeah, I mean, nowadays it's about kind of my family and kind of getting these getting my business, my organization that I'm working for, to the next level. So. Yeah.
That's cool hearing about your music taste and everything, but I think I'm more interested in maybe there's a history with you and quinceañeras, and maybe there's something there, right? So tell me about your connection there with the quinceañeras.
With the quinceañeras? So, well, there's a couple. So, growing up in the South Side, like I said, I would go to school with mostly Anglos. I would hang out and play football with African Americans on the weekends. Yeah. Man.
Time to dance?
Time to dance. Yeah. And so I had a group of buddies that we would load up in my dad's exhibition and we'd crash quinceañeras on the weekends. Nice. And we had a blast, man. I mean, we would sometimes hit up 2 or 3, because they were already at the same, they're always at the same venues, right? Right. And so that was a lot of fun to do. And it got to the point where, my brother and I especially, we got pretty good at the dancing, and we tried our hands at choreographing. Oh, okay. Dances. And so at class, and I was the president of the Latino Club, and I had this idea one year of maybe participating in the talent show. And so we opened up our membership to whoever is, open to it. And we had about 30 kids or so one year show up to one of our dance rehearsals. Yeah. And my brother and I put together this, I guess, potpourri of songs. Again, Cumbia Kings, Fulanito.
Did you ever get into the banda and the quebradita and stuff like that? You did that stuff too?
We did that stuff too. Cool. And we put this group mix together, and we would choreograph a whole dance. Right? Yeah. And DJ Maverick, we would shut down the talent show and the multicultural show every year.
That's awesome.
And we had such a great time that we kind of transitioned into these quinceañeras. So growing up, I was tall, right? And so I was invited to a lot of quinceañeras to be part of.
Were you always like the chambelán de honor or what?
Well, I was a chambelán de honor one time, I think, but mostly I was a chambelán. And my dad made a joke, my dad and my uncle would make a joke like, hey, mijo, you're so many quinceañeras, we're going to have to start renting you out. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Might be a business here.
Maybe a business here. And so, when you're doing these quinceañeras, I'm sure you always have the same bottles. You always have the same steps, you know? And it kind of got
So it's tiempo de vals, right?
Always
if I hear tiempo de vals one more time.
So what we ended up doing was like, you know what? We would convince our, people that were invited, like, give us a chance to maybe choreograph this vals, but then we should do a surprise dance, right? Where we can do our own thing. And so they would, and there was a few of quinceañeras that my brother and I choreographed, not just the vals, but the actual surprise dance where we would go change into some street clothes and dance to again, the Cumbia Kings were kind of my go-to. We enjoyed having that, and so we had a blast, and it's something that a lot of people maybe don't know or maybe forgot about. So
do you know how to do the cumbia with all the turns and all that?
I did.
That's always the coolest to me. Like the dudes that can do that, that's super cool.
I did for a little bit. My brother though, Jesus, my brother Jesus, shout out to Jesus. He's definitely the master. Him and his wife Diana, they were the ones that were very skilled at that.
Maybe it's time to bring it back, an LCDA talent show or something like that. That might be a cool idea. Right?
We'll write it down.
Yeah.
Write that down right now.
That's very cool. So tell me, what is your goals for this year? You're new to the role, but I'm sure you already got some goals for this year. So tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah. So again, this year is, let's engage. That's kind of the theme, right?
Yeah.
I want to make sure that we reintroduced LCDA to the community, reintroduce them to corporate, community and others. We want to share the wonderful work that we do. Something about our culture is that, we don't tend to brag. We don't tend to, share the wonderful things that we do, right? And I think it's time to change that.
Yeah.
I think we need to be prideful. We need to share all the things that, that we do as a community to uplift ourselves. And that's kind of the goal this year. We're doing these lunch and learns to help educate our community members about the LCDA, about the programs that we do. We're going to work on this luncheon. There's various projects I can't share right now, but they're in the works. But it's all in the spirit of improving the services that we offer, and really expanding and scaling them to meet more needs of the community.
That's cool. It sounds like you're bringing a lot of innovative ideas and like a lot of change to the org, but while still respecting some of the traditions or some of the ways that they do that, because they have been around for a long time.
33 years, since 1991 is when Pat Fennell, the Hall of Famer Pat Fennell, built this organization to where it is today. Absolutely.
Very cool. So as a nonprofit, how do you measure success, right? Because in a traditional business, you might measure like Q1 versus Q2 sales or something like that. How do you measure success in a nonprofit?
Community impact. How many people are we serving?
Okay.
With what programs and, follow-ups, making sure that they started here and now they're being successful in this way. So through community impact and pre and post surveys and making sure that the programs that we are offering are relevant and are still needed. So
that's cool. So for the viewers out there, maybe there's a kid watching us right now and they're like, hey, I want to be a CEO someday. I want to get into nonprofit. Like, what are some of maybe the roadmap that you could tell them, hey, follow these steps, or, this is how I did it?
I would say, follow your passion. What is it you want to do? If it is nonprofit, then, be ready to serve. No job is too small, right? Mm-hmm. If there's trash on the floor, pick it up. If there's a need in the organization, like you step in and try to solve that need or help, solve that problem. A CEO is a combination of a lot of different expertise. It's not just, I'm going to tell people what to do.
Right.
I'll tell you what, telling people what to do is a real quick way of losing respect for your people.
Yeah.
You got to be the first one there. You got to be the last one to leave. You got to be the one to really show what it is, what it takes to be that leader. Right. Mm-hmm. For me, I really learned the basics of finance and accounting, learning all those details, right? I mean, to be an effective leader, you have to know the details. You have to understand the programs. You have to understand how things are put together and how they're run, right? You can't go in there blind.
Right.
You have to be willing you have to be a learner. You have to be willing to really participate in the hard stuff. So I think that's some of it. There's just no substitution for hard work.
Right. No, that's cool. And I think just like you said, not turning down opportunities. And when something, when that phone call, you get that phone call, just be ready to take advantage of that, right?
Ready to take advantage of it. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. So we are running out of time, but before we sign off, I want to give you the stage to plug in. Where can people find you? Social media, website. If people want to look up the LCDA, maybe get involved, how do they do that?
So you're welcome to go on our Facebook page. Just Google LCDA or Latino Community Development Agency. Our website, which is in the process of being renovated, is www.lcdaok.org. You can find us there and learn more about our programs and the services that we offer. You're welcome to call us. If there's a need that maybe we need to start providing, you can call us at 405-236-0701. And let us know what it is that you're looking for. One of my goals is, if we don't offer a program or we don't offer a particular service, we're developing a list of partners that we can start to refer out to. Right. I want to make sure that when people come to LCDA, they leave with something. They leave with the contact. They leave with the service. They leave with information that can help solve the problem that they have. So give us a call.
Awesome. Well, I want to thank you for your time. I know you're super busy and, taking time out of your space to be here. I really appreciate it. So welcome back. Anytime you want to, plug in, maybe you've got that talent show that's going to be coming up or something, you're welcome back.
I'm going to take you up on that, man.
All right, cool. All right, there you have it. Ladies and gentlemen, the super talented Salvador Ontiveros on the Maverick Podcast. Keep grinding, because in dreams we trust.